Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/EntitledPeople Stories. Today, we're diving into some Reddit podcast stories with Karen. My sister mocked me for living in a trailer, but I got revenge. My sister, who we'll call Karen for obvious reasons, has mocked me for years because I live in a trailer. Not because it's dirty or falling apart or in a sketchy area. It's actually a pretty nice one. Eli, my husband, and I chose it intentionally. It's paid off, low maintenance, and lets us live without debt while still saving and investing. But according to Karen, that means we're living like we're poor. Eli and I don't believe in wasting money just to keep up appearances. We cook at home. Our date nights are usually hiking, camping, or just throwing together a picnic and watching the sunset somewhere. We enjoy our life, and we're not ashamed of it. Karen, on the other hand, lives for appearances. She and her husband Chris lease new cars every couple of years, are always doing some renovation on their house, always dressed head to toe in name brands. There's always some new project going on, and they spend money like it grows on trees. Every time we see her, she has something snarky to say about where we live. She's called it a tin can before. Once she even said, "You and Eli make decent money. Why do you live like you're poor?" I just said, "Because we don't like being in debt." She laughed and said, "One day you'll grow up and understand that life is supposed to be enjoyed." So yeah, that's the vibe. Anyway, a few months ago, Karen started acting different, stressed, short-tempered, constantly bickering with Chris. You could tell she was holding on to something. Then I got a call from our mom, who told me what was really going on. Chris had been laid off, and they were in real financial trouble. Between the mortgage, the car leases, and the lifestyle they had built, they were way underwater. They were considering selling their house. Mom asked me if Eli and I would be willing to help them out financially. I said no. It wasn't even a hard decision. I told her, after all the years she's mocked how we live, and now she wants help because we didn't spend like maniacs? No, I'm not doing that. Mom kind of sighed and said, "I understand, but two wrongs don't make a right. Family should help family when they can." I said, "Should family also mock each other every chance they get? Because if anything, this feels like karma." She got quiet for a second, then said, "Well, I can see I'm not going to get anywhere with you. I'll pray that you find kindness in your heart." And she hung up. What she didn't know was that I've actually been praying. Not in a traditional religious way, because I'm not really sure what I believe. But I've had these quiet moments to myself, kind of like intercessions. I talk to whatever might be out there and I ask for peace, for understanding, and for patience. Lately, I'd been asking that Karen be humbled, that the hostility would stop, that something would finally shake her enough to change. After that call with my mom, I sat down and did another one of those sessions. I asked that I not act from bitterness, but from truth, that I wouldn't let anger get the best of me, even if I had every right to be angry. The next day, Karen called me. She sounded different, like the life had been drained out of her. She told me everything, how Chris had been laid off, how they had to return one of the leased cars and were sharing the other, how her son wouldn't be returning to private school next year. She said she knew Eli and I had savings, and she begged me to help them out just a little bit. I started to feel bad, like really bad. I was just about to say something when something strange happened. It was like a thought appeared in my head, fully formed, without me even trying to think it. It was in my voice, but clearer than any thought I've ever had in my life. It just said, "Don't do it. You're letting your emotions pull you back in. Be strong." It felt like my own mind had grabbed the wheel before I could crash. I sat there frozen for a second, amazed at how loud and clear it was. Then I took a deep breath and said, "Look, my heart hurts for your family, but this is the wake-up call you needed. You've spent recklessly for years while Eli and I saved, and now you're asking us to hand over money? No, I won't be giving you anything. I really do hope you learn from this and make better choices moving forward." She completely flipped. She started yelling, "Why do you hate me so much? I'm still your sister. We're family." I said calmly, "I don't hate you. I love you, and I'll always love you. But I'm not an ATM. I'm a human being, and I have feelings too. You've mocked me for years, and now you expect me to swoop in and rescue you?" She screamed, "Thanks for nothing. and said she never wanted to talk to me again, that I was a traitor to my own family. And just as I was about to yell something back, that voice came back, same as before. Stop. It's trying to suck you in. You already passed. Suddenly, the anger just disappeared, like the voice took it with it. Her yelling turned into sobbing. I said, with that same weird clarity, I know you're hurting, and that's okay, but I can't save you from your own decisions. I wish you the best. Then she hung up. I sat there in silence for a while, just processing everything. How I almost caved, how I almost snapped, how something in me, whether you call it inner strength or something else, stepped in and protected me in the moment that I needed it. That's when I noticed Eli standing at the kitchen doorway. He didn't say anything, just gave me a small smile and nodded. And in that moment, I realized how proud he was of me, and how proud I was of myself. I knew I was still vulnerable to Karen's manipulation, so I blocked her on everything. For now, at least. Update 6 months later. I still haven't spoken to Karen, but our mom keeps me in the loop. Apparently, that conversation was a turning point for her. She got a part-time evening job. They sold the big house and moved into a modest single-story home. Chris found a new job. Pays less, but enough to be stable again. Their son goes to public school now, and he actually loves it. Says it's way more relaxed, and he has way more friends. Mom told me Karen might even want to thank me, that I should consider reaching out. I was about to say maybe when that voice came back. Not yet. You'll know when. So I'm waiting, because here's what I've learned. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is say no. And sometimes saying no is the exact thing that sets someone free. You 100% did the right thing. And that inner voice you kept mentioning, that's real. Psychologists call it things like inner speech or self-talk, but it's basically your conscience. Some people think of it as gut instinct, others see it as a spiritual thing. Either way, it's that part of you that steps in when emotions are loud and tries to steer you in the right direction. It actually reminded me of Jiminy Cricket from Pinocchio. He was literally the voice of reason, always trying to guide Pinocchio to be brave and honest. That's what your conscience is there for. And the way you described it, taking over your thoughts, that's what happens when you're really in tune with it. You were listening, not just reacting. Now that you've experienced it that clearly, it's probably going to show up more often. Not in some dramatic way, just naturally. You'll start making decisions that feel solid and grounded without second-guessing yourself all the time. It's like a compass that only points in the right direction. You followed it, and it protected you from getting dragged into someone else's mess. That's not cold. That's wisdom. One thing I've learned is that when someone truly loves you, they don't blow up on you just because you said no to something. And they definitely don't mock you or tear you down for how you live your life. Real love respects you. Real love doesn't come with guilt trips or insults dressed up as jokes. I grew up in a family where being made fun of was constant. If you spoke up about it, they'd act like you were the problem. It's just a joke, or you're too sensitive, was their go-to defense. For the longest time, I thought that was normal. I thought love looked like constant teasing and low-key put-downs. It wasn't until I got older and started spending time around other people that I realized most people don't treat each other like that. There are people out there who lift you up, respect your choices, and know how to disagree without turning it into an attack. Eventually, I stopped talking to most of my family, and honestly, my life got a lot better, so much more peaceful. I really believe people are like energy, and the ones you allow into your space shape everything, your mindset, your emotions, even your health. When you start only keeping people around who match your energy, everything gets better. The anxiety fades, you stop feeling like you have to constantly defend yourself. And that alone is worth everything. See, this is why I get Kevin from Home Alone on a deep emotional level. The kid literally wished his whole family would disappear, and they did. Iconic. Yeah, but then he realized it was actually kind of sad without them. Oh, please. He was having a blast until those burglars showed up. The kid was eating ice cream for breakfast, sledding down the stairs, and buying whatever he wanted. Okay, fine. But he did really end up missing his mom. Right, because she was the only one who showed him actual love. Let's not act like Uncle Frank or Buzz actually cared about him. Am I the jerk for not wanting to compete with my sister at my own wedding? I, 33 female, have a sister who we'll call Libby. She's 36. To put it bluntly, she's always needed to outshine me. If she can't one-up me, then she swings the other way and plays the victim to pull all the attention back to herself. This has been the rhythm of our entire relationship. It's exhausting, and it's made worse because she has a history of really up and down behavior that takes over every family gathering. Last summer, after dating my partner Max for 2 years, we finally got engaged. It was a huge moment for us. We FaceTimed my parents to share the news, and Max dropped a text into the family group chat with a picture of the ring. Everyone jumped in with congratulations, except Libby. Instead of saying anything to us, she announced that she was dating someone new. It felt like a classic Libby move. She couldn't just let me have the moment. At first, everyone brushed past it, but a few days later, she wanted us all to meet him. By September, we went out to lunch in town to meet this boyfriend, John. He seemed fine enough, quiet, almost too quiet. But the lunch wasn't really about him anyway. As soon as my older sister started asking me about the wedding, Libby jumped in. She cut me off mid-sentence and blurted out, "It's okay if I wear white, right?" I stared at her and told her, half joking, "Sure, if you want to be thrown overboard," since our ceremony was going to be on a boat. She laughed and followed it up with, "Well, maybe we can just do a double wedding then." The entire table went silent. No one laughed. Even John didn't seem to react. That didn't stop her from dropping more little comments here and there until the whole lunch felt off. We ended things early, and she texted me later saying she was glad I adored John, which was ridiculous because I hadn't even gotten to know him. He barely spoke. She also said they were both so excited about my wedding. I couldn't let it slide. I texted her back and laid out exactly what she had said that made me uncomfortable. I told her point blank that if she tried to steal attention from Max or me during our wedding weekend, I'd cut her out of our lives. Fast forward to May, and our ceremony finally happened. It was on the boat, and it was everything we dreamed of. I married my best friend. The whole day was perfect, and we were surrounded by people who genuinely wanted to celebrate with us. Libby and John were there, but it didn't go well for them. They tried mingling, but people avoided them. Word had gotten around that they had been making rude comments about Max and me. In the end, they slipped out early. I didn't shed a single tear over that. Now, the big reception is coming up. We're hosting it next month in our home state. I work in the event industry, so I've been cashing in every favor and pulling every string. It's going to be huge, a real party. I want it to feel like a second celebration since our actual wedding was small and private. I thought the drama was behind us until I started getting random messages from extended family asking if it was true that I told Libby she wasn't allowed to get engaged or married until 2026. That came out of nowhere. I just took a screenshot of my conversation with Libby and I sent it back to them. Every single person who messaged me apologized after that. I confronted Libby about it, and of course, she claimed she never said that and they all were lying. That's how it always goes with her. Twist the story, play the victim, move the spotlight. A few weeks later, during a family dinner, my parents asked if Max and I planned on having kids. Max shared that we were hoping to start trying after the reception. Libby looked at John, smirked, then went back to eating. It was one of those moments where the whole table felt the tension, but no one said anything. Then, about 2 months ago, Libby dropped a bomb. She told the family she thought she had cancer. Everyone froze. All attention shifted to her. We dropped everything. We rallied around her, supported her, and waited for news. It was terrifying. Then she announced she didn't have cancer. Just like that. No apology, no acknowledgement of the panic we'd all felt. Almost immediately after that, she said they were trying for a baby. My family's very religious and has always been firm about not celebrating until marriage, so I assumed she'd wait until they were at least engaged. Well, today, I found out by accident that she's 8 weeks pregnant. Almost nobody knows. Just a handful of people she swore to secrecy. And apparently, she's planning to make some kind of big announcement at our reception. I don't know if she's going to announce the pregnancy or an engagement, but either way, it's not going to be about me and Max. She's planning to make it about herself again. The part that really stung? She told someone she plans to use the baby name Max and I had picked out for 3 years if it's a boy. At this point, I want to uninvite her. But I only know about the pregnancy because of what someone slipped up and told me, And technically, I'm not even supposed to know. On paper, I don't have a good enough reason to keep her from coming without it turning into a bigger family feud. I've already told my maid of honor and my planner what's going on, and they both want a game plan for how to keep the spotlight where it belongs. But honestly, I'm so angry that I even have to think about this. I'm spending all this money and effort to celebrate my marriage, and my sister is once again gearing up to steal the show. If you got a family group chat, drop the congratulations in there right now. No announcement left for her to hijack. If not, go public on social media. Either way, make sure everyone knows before your party so she can't turn it into her show. And if she still tries, don't let her near the mic. If she blows up, ignore her. Nothing ruins an attention grab faster than nobody caring. Update. Hey guys, so the reception happened this past weekend, and let's just say, everything I was worried about, I was right to be worried. The day started off beautifully. Max and I were in such high spirits, the decorations looked incredible, and guests were showing up excited to celebrate. I was buzzing, thinking this was finally going to be our moment with zero drama. Then Libby showed up, and of course she was late. She strolled in with John like they were the guests of honor, wearing a sparkly cream-colored dress that looked suspiciously close to white. My maid of honor literally leaned over and whispered, "Here we go." At first she played it cool. Smiles, hugs, nothing too wild. But once people started giving toasts, Libby suddenly stood up. She didn't have a microphone, but she raised her glass and said loudly, "Since we're all here celebrating family, I just wanted to share some exciting news of our own." I felt my stomach drop. Before she could get further, my planner, who I had already warned, jumped in, grabbed the mic, and said, "Hold that thought. We're actually about to bring out dessert." The staff rolled in this gorgeous dessert display, and everyone's attention shifted instantly. It completely drowned her out. She sat down, red in the face, and spent the rest of the evening sulking. People did notice her trying to say something, but since nothing came of it, most guests just moved on and focused on the party. The next day, I got a text from her saying I was cruel and stole her moment. She claimed she was going to announce her engagement, not the pregnancy, and that I humiliated her in front of everyone. I didn't respond. My patience is gone. The ironic part? Later in the night, my cousin came up to me and said, "So Libby's pregnant, right? She told me in the bathroom like it was a secret." Apparently, she couldn't help herself and spilled it to a few people anyway. Now it's half gossip, half rumor, and she didn't even get the big announcement she wanted. Max and I had the time of our lives, and the only people talking about her antics afterward were laughing about how awkward she made herself look. Honestly, I'm just relieved it didn't overshadow our night, but I think I'm done trying with her. Your planner deserves a medal. Cutting her off with dessert was genius. The fact that she still tried to hijack your party proves she can't stand not being the center of attention. You handled it perfectly by doing nothing and letting her sink herself. So she tried to upstage your wedding reception with a fake cancer scare, then a pregnancy, then an engagement, and she still couldn't manage it because people only care about you and Max. That's karma in action. Best wishes, OP and Max. Her saying that you stole her moment at your reception is the funniest thing I've read all week. What moment? Nobody came for her. She could have made the biggest announcement in the world and it still wouldn't have mattered. You won. Okay, can we all agree that OP's wedding planner deserves a standing ovation? Cutting Libby off with cake was the smoothest move I've ever seen. True. Cake solves everything. You can't compete with dessert. Imagine thinking you're about to steal the show and then a giant tray of cupcakes rolls in. Game over. I took petty revenge on a Karen. I work at a small car wash that can go from absolutely dead to slammed in a matter of minutes. Some days it's quiet enough to hear the vacuum hoses humming, and other times it feels like the entire town decided to wash their cars all at once. We get every type of customer you can imagine. Families with minivans, college kids in beat-up sedans, guys who treat their trucks like newborn babies, and of course, the Karens of the world. Most people are fine, especially the regulars who have memberships with us. The system is simple. If you buy a membership, we give you a barcode sticker that goes on your windshield. Our scanners read it automatically and the gate opens. No fuss and no waiting. Easy. But here's the problem. A surprising number of people decide they don't actually want to stick the barcode to their car. Instead, they keep it on a slip of paper and hold it up to the glass when they drive through, like they're too special to put a tiny sticker on their windshield. It seems like such a small thing, but it causes all sorts of issues with the scanners. So corporate made it a rule. No sticker, no entry, even if you're a paying member. The reason is obvious. Without the sticker, people were passing their barcodes around to friends or family and basically cheating the system. The policy makes sense, but enforcing it has been a nightmare. Customers don't want to hear about corporate rules, they just want things their way. And guess who takes the brunt of their anger? Us, the employees making barely above minimum wage. Most of the time when we explain it, people huff and puff, maybe argue for a bit, and then either slap the sticker on or cancel their membership altogether. Honestly, when someone cancels, it feels like a win. Less headaches for us. Earlier this week, though, I had an encounter with a woman who seemed like she was born for the role of Karen. She had the whole package: the bleach blonde hair, giant sunglasses that swallowed her face, a luxury SUV that looked 2 sizes too big for her, and a voice that could probably shatter glass. She drove up holding her barcode against the windshield, completely ignoring me when I greeted her. I put on my polite voice and said, "Just so you know, we have a new policy that says you have to put your..." Before I could finish, she cut me off sharply. "I know. They told me last time I have to, but I haven't had time and I'm not doing it." I paused for a second, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm just saying," she interrupted again, louder this time. "I pay $27 a month, so I should be able to put it wherever I want." Now, I don't usually care what people do as long as it doesn't make my job harder. But the entitlement in her tone got under my skin. I reminded her that it wasn't my policy, I was just required to enforce it. She waved me off like I was a fly buzzing around her head and drove through. Fine, I let her go. But when she pulled into the vacuum area after her wash, I walked over and told her calmly that she'd likely be denied next time if the sticker wasn't on her windshield. She gave me the fakest annoyed smile and said, "Okay, well then I'll most likely be canceling my membership." She said it like she thought it would devastate me. In reality, I wanted to do cartwheels around the parking lot. But even after she left, I couldn't shake how dismissive she had been. We deal with so many people like her that sometimes it feels like we're just punching bags in uniforms. So I pulled up her account on my computer. For about 30 minutes, I went back and forth with myself. On one hand, it wasn't worth risking trouble at work. On the other, she had been so nasty for absolutely no reason. In the end, my petty side won. I changed her barcode to a different one in the system, which meant the next time she tried to come through holding that slip of paper, it wouldn't scan. It might even mark her account as inactive. Worst case scenario, she'd complain and we'd have to reassign her a new sticker. But here's the catch. When we assign a new one, we're required to stick it directly on the windshield and document it, and it takes 24 hours for a new barcode to activate. So either way, she'd have to wait, cooperate, and finally put that little piece of plastic where it belonged. The thought of her rolling up all smug, only to have the gate refuse to open, gave me more satisfaction than I'd like to admit. Here's the thing people don't get. We aren't trying to ruin anyone's day. We don't care where you drive, what you wear, or how much money you make. But when corporate gives us rules, we have to enforce them. Yelling at us doesn't change anything. Complaining about your $27 membership doesn't change anything either. All we ask is basic respect. And yet, too many people act like paying for a service means that they get to treat us like servants. And here's the truth. We remember those customers. We talk about them in the break room. And sometimes, when the stars align, we get our tiny bit of revenge. So if Karen comes back and finds herself stuck at the gate, well, maybe next time she'll think twice before dismissing the person just trying to do their job. My local car wash actually switched to license plate readers for Karens like this. Cuts down on people trying to play games with the stickers and pretending they're too busy or too good to put it on. The line moves way faster now. The only downside is when someone in the one-time wash lane decides to sneak into the membership lane. That's happened to me a few times, and it's infuriating because it blocks actual members from getting through. Honestly, they should have a completely separate entrance for membership only. Some newer cars mess with the stickers anyway because of the windshield design. My garage explained it to me. Apparently, the coating on the glass interferes with the reader. So yeah, the whole "just hold it up" workaround is super common, but it makes the system way more frustrating for employees. Whoever engineered this probably knew exactly what kind of Karens they were going to tick off. Long-term plotting. Honestly, I kind of respect it. My brother used to game the system like that too. He had his sticker taped to a piece of clear plastic that he could swap in between cars. It worked for a while until the car wash caught on and forced him to stick it down permanently. Some people just can't help themselves. I don't even bother with memberships. I've got an old truck that barely sees soap unless it rains. But watching people argue with employees over a $27 a month wash club like it's life or death never fails to crack me up. Imagine fighting harder for a $27 a month car wash membership than most people fight for child custody. Yeah, she probably thinks the barcode sticker is some sort of government tracking device. Joke's on her. The government doesn't care about her BMW. Found out that my boyfriend was about to propose to me, then he changed his mind. I've been with my boyfriend John for 5 years. We have a pretty awesome relationship, great communication, fun, easygoing, and good chemistry. We've always talked about getting married, and I had no doubts that we would be getting engaged soon. Recently, John, myself, John's closest friend, and his girlfriend went on a trip to Vegas for several days. We had a great time, all 4 of us, and on our last night there, John told us he wanted to go to the Bellagio fountains to see them before we had to leave. Everyone was up for it. We went for a nice dinner beforehand and then began watching the fountains as the music came on. It was really romantic, and I was really enjoying myself. That's when John grabbed my wrist. He turned me towards him, and I saw that he was sweating profusely. His face was bright red, and he looked like he was about to pass out from trembling so hard. The whole time, it looked like he was about to say something, but he never did. He just informed all of us that he wasn't feeling well and wanted to go back to the hotel. Our friends looked really puzzled and were whispering into each other's ears all the way back to the hotel. I kept asking John if he was okay, and he just said he probably had too much to drink. We've been back for a couple of weeks, and he's been acting really distant and cold. I honestly knew something weird was up that night in Vegas, so I called up John's friend's girlfriend, who I'm fairly close with, and I asked her if she knew what was going on with John, since he had been at their place a lot this past week instead of coming home. Eventually, she spilled the beans and told me he had plans of proposing to me that night at the fountain, but he didn't. That's why the 2 of them had been acting so confused. I kept grilling her, and she also told me that John had told his friend that it didn't feel right. She made me promise not to tell John that I knew because she didn't want anyone to be upset with her. I'm feeling sick to my stomach. We live together, and he's been spending all of his time at his friend's house or his parents' house since we got back. He barely calls me or responds to my texts anymore. I don't know what happened that night, but I feel like he's about to end things. I want to talk to him, but I don't know how to approach the issue. Do I just say, "Hey, I heard you were gonna pop the question the other night, but changed your mind. What gives?" Was he really nervous? I'm freaking out. He'll be home shortly. I told him over the phone I needed to talk to him, and his words were, "I need to talk to you too." I'll update when I can. Update. John came home around 11:30 as I was watching TV in our bedroom. He came in and looked like absolute crap. His eyes looked tired and baggy, and he smelled like beer. He apologized to me for the way he had been acting recently and told me that he knew that I knew about the almost proposal as he had talked to his friend Mike, and Mike told John that his girlfriend Tara had told me everything. He basically said to me that he had the whole thing planned out. He was going to propose, and Tara and Mike would take pictures. Then we would go back to a romantic, more expensive room in our hotel, which Mike and Tara ended up staying in that night so I wouldn't suspect anything. They switched key cards while I was walking back. He then told me what I was afraid of. It just didn't feel right. I was looking at you, and it just wasn't what I wanted. Ouch. He told me that he had been nervous ever since he bought the ring, but that he thought it would go away once he actually proposed. In the moment, he knew that it was not what he wanted and thought it would be better not to ask me to marry him because he knew it wasn't what he wanted in the long run. At this point, I'm in hysterics because I pretty much knew this was the end of the relationship. I tried to be calm and rational, but at one point, I was crying so hard that I got down on my knees, laid my head on his lap while he sat there, and just kept incoherently saying, "Please," between sobs. Not my proudest moment. But at that moment, this man was my best friend and the future father of my kids. I never in a million years pictured our relationship coming to this point. He ended it with me last night because it didn't feel right, and that's all he could say over and over. "It just doesn't feel right anymore. I can't see myself with you." At that point, I could barely breathe. I felt like I was having a panic attack, so I called my mom, and she came to pick me up from our place. My poor mom just looked so helpless while I sat there in the car crying so hard I eventually had a nosebleed. I wish I could say this was the end of the story, but more has happened since last night. This morning, I was on Facebook looking through a bunch of old pictures of John and me, sobbing uncontrollably and sending him text after text with reasons why we should be together. Eventually, I stumbled onto Mike's page through a tagged photo. He updated his status from a few hours ago to something like, "California was amazing. Wish work would send me for more than 5 days." My stomach started doing flips because John kept telling me he was spending the days he was practically ignoring me with Mike, but Mike was in California for several days and we're in Canada, so that's not very close. I freaked out. I called Mike from my house phone, and when he answered, I said, "Hey, it's OP," and all he could say after a few seconds of silence was, "Oh crap." Basically, Mike has been covering for John while John has been spending time with the girl he's apparently been seeing for the past 6 months. I know this girl, John works with her, and she's always been really sweet to me whenever I've seen her at John's work-related events. Mike told me that John has told him he was falling in love with her. He said this after the incident in Vegas. He's been spending almost all of the past 2 weeks with her. Mike also told me he had promised not to say a word to anyone, not even Tara, but he felt guilty and was glad that I called him. He apologized and said if I had to tell John that he told me, I could. That's all I know for now. I haven't bothered contacting John yet, and I don't know if Mike told him that I know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've been sick all day. It feels like my heart is breaking in two and I have no control. I need to get my stuff from our place. I need to find a new place. We have a dog. Who gets the dog? I love my dog. It all feels so surreal. John called me a bunch of times while I was passed out. I woke up as he was calling me again and kind of just answered the phone without thinking about it. He was crying and apologizing. I guess Mike told him that I knew and saying he was confused. He asked me where I was and I lied, saying I was with my sister an hour away at her place. I asked him if he was with her. He said yes, but that he'd be home tomorrow, so could I please meet him to talk about things at our house? I said sure. I asked my mom to drive me to our place a little while ago, and I took my dog with me. I brought her back, and I'm feeling much better. I'm also not meeting with him tomorrow. I didn't think it would help me much to ask for advice, but I've read each and every one of your comments, and I feel 1,000 times better than I did a few hours ago. Thank you. Imagine your mom randomly decides to kick you out one day, no warning, and somehow it ends up becoming the best thing that ever happened to you. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It's one of the best ones we've ever read. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap and come have a listen. Karen and I are already waiting for you.